Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Forward Corporation and T.R. McTaggart, Angler Quest Boats, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery, and welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. AM and FM stations across the great state of Michigan, talking about hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping and the goal to promote, encourage, educate about the history and tradition of this wonderful outdoor lifestyle here in the great state of Michigan, and glad to have you along with us. This is a radio show, first and foremost. I feel the need to say that every week because the lines are getting blurred here. We record this show, we schedule this show, we produce this show, we distribute this show as a radio show, a radio program. And I think the best way to listen, if you can, is on one of our AM or FM stations across the great state of Michigan. If you can't, if your local affiliate doesn't carry all 3 hours of the show, or if you live in some part of our state not covered by the broadcast signal, you can always listen to the podcast version of the show. Now, a podcast in the sense of this show is nothing more than the audio of the radio show made available somewhere online. It could be your phone, your laptop, your iPad, your computer, whatever. You can find the podcast on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, on my Mike Avery Outdoors Facebook page. We're now on Amazon Music. You can find it on Twitter, LinkedIn, iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Radio.com, and probably anywhere else you get your podcasts from. You can hear the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show. And just a reminder, I do other shows that are strictly podcasts. They're not available on the radio, but they're podcasts online. I do those every month for Jay's Sporting Goods, Offshore Tackle, Angler Quest Boats, Killer Food Plots, Polar Craft Boats, and MUCC as well. This is a topic that I like to talk about every year, and it usually comes up about this time of year as we're into the full-blown hunting season. Now, those of us who like to shoot, right, we're shooting year-round. And everything about hunting and shooting, in my mind, is fun. I like every bit of it. But like a lot of things in life, there are some dangers. Like, obviously, when you're dealing with guns and firearms, there's that concern. That's why most of us are brought up with the rules of firearm safety. You know, you treat every gun like it's loaded. You keep your finger off the trigger till you're ready to shoot. Don't point it at something you don't want to shoot. Be aware of your background. All those basics. And they're good things to keep in mind, even for veteran, seasoned shooters. But over the years, a lot of those seasoned and veteran shooters, myself included, start to suffer in some ways from hearing loss, from shooting, from the sound of shooting. Dr. Mike Stewart is an audiologist and an avid hunter and a good friend of the Outdoor Magazine radio show. And he's with us once again to help us keep this stuff in mind. Mike, welcome back. How you doing?
Good. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great. Hey, it's a beautiful fall. The fall colors this year are so vibrant. It's just a great time of year, isn't it?
Yeah, I just came back from the UP, and it was incredible up there. It rained a couple days, but yesterday morning it was just unbelievable, and the sun was out on the maple trees and stuff, and it's a beautiful sight.
What were you doing up there, Mike? Were you hunting?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were hunting. We saw an awful lot of does and fawns, Mike, in really good shape, but didn't see very many bucks until we were ready to leave. And, of course, then we saw 3 bucks standing out in the field. But
sure.
Saw an awful lot of deer, and they looked to be in very good shape.
Good. Mike, for many years you were at CMU, Central Michigan. You've also had a private practice, so you know this whole concept of hearing and hearing loss. And as an avid hunter, you see this from both sides, don't you?
Yes, and I experienced it personally too, because before I became an audiologist and realized, how to protect my hearing, I did a lot of damage, just like a lot of people in my late teens and early 20s, using big bore guns without ear protection.
But we didn't think about that back then. Nobody I know thought about that back then, Mike.
No, my father was an educated man. He was a veterinarian, and he never wore ear protection. He taught me all about hunter safety and gun safety, but never about protecting your ears, because no one really realized it at the time. It sneaks up on you, as you know, Mike, and by the time you start to realize it, it's too late.
And I don't know about you, the way I notice it is that I feel like people around me are mumbling, especially my wife. My wife's voice, and people will say, "Oh, it's because it's your wife." But my wife's tone of voice, I have to ask her several times a day to please repeat what she said, because I don't get it. Even if we're in the same room, I have to be looking at her, and I have to see her mouth move sometimes to know what she's saying.
Yeah, my wife's an audiologist, and I have the same problem with her. Their voices are higher in pitch, and children are even higher in pitch, and so women and children are harder for people with noise-induced hearing loss to hear, because most of the hearing loss that we have is in the higher frequencies, and so it's harder to understand people who have higher pitched voices, and women and children fall in that category.
Does it can a one-time event cause loss, or does it have to be repeated over a period of time?
Both. It depends on the sound pressure level, and also whether there's reverberation, and mainly the sound pressure level. So yeah, you can have. We see it all the time in the fall, where people go out to ranges, and maybe novice hunters, novice firearm users are shooting big bore guns, and they don't realize the dangers, and they suffer hearing loss on one trip to the firing range. And yeah, if you generate enough sound pressure level with a firearm, you can cause severe damage with one shot. People don't realize that, especially if you're shooting in an enclosed area like inside of a blind. It increases the sound pressure level, and also it increases the length of the impulse, and so it's very dangerous.
This sound pressure level, is this measured in dBs, decibels? Is that how we note it?
Yes, decibels. And anything NIOSH, and there are other agencies that have guidelines, and anything above 140 would be considered, you'd be risking your hearing if you're exposed to anything above 140. So, 22s, long rifle with a regular rifle is right about in that range, a little bit lower maybe. They're fairly safe, but almost any other firearm that you run into could cause damage, especially after repeated exposures. And so, guns that allow rapid fire, like a semi-auto, much more dangerous than, let's say, a single shot or a bolt action.
So there's a lot of factors in here. There's the caliber or the bore. There's the distance that it is from your ear. That's the environment you're in. There's a lot of factors going on here.
A lot of factors. The rule of thumb is the bigger the bore, the more powder, the bigger the boom. And the closer to the ear, the more danger. So that's why big bore pistols are probably the worst, because a lot of people have them right up next to their face. And so, and then, hunting in groups, like duck hunters and waterfowlers, that's also dangerous, because they get not only the sound pressure from their own guns, but from adjacent guns. And so it can be a hazardous situation for your ears.
That's an interesting point. If you're out in the duck marsh and you're there with three of your buddies, so you got four guns going, a flock comes in, you all open up at once. Yeah, that's I can see where that would be a concern.
Yeah, 24 shots in 3 seconds, Mike. Yeah. Wow. And a lot of times the ducks just keep right on flying.
Yeah. So you've got the hearing loss, and you didn't get a bird down.
Right. That's right.
I think about my own situation, and I have a feeling that there was one key time that really put me over the top. It was the first time I'd ever shot a .45. A buddy had a .45, and he let me shoot it, and it was so much fun. I just kept shooting it over and over and over and over, and I had no hearing protection. Didn't give it a second thought. until I was in the truck to drive back home with the guys, and they're talking, and I can't hear a thing. And then my ears started to ring. Now, looking back on that, is that a classic scenario?
Yes, it is. And anytime you've shoot and experience ringing after you shoot, you've probably done damage, or you've certainly been exposed to levels that could cause damage. And some of the damage, Mike, is in the ultra-high frequency range, 14,000, 16,000 hertz, and you don't notice it. It can cause a ringing, but you don't notice it in terms of speech intelligibility until it starts to get into the lower frequencies, into the 3,000-4,000 hertz range. And then you start to lose your high-frequency consonant sounds, and you just hear the vowels, and that's why people think you're mumbling. That's why people think that other people are mumbling, is because they're just hearing their vowels, and they're not hearing the consonants. And the loudness is carried on the vowels, but the clarity is carried on the consonant sounds. And a lot of people aren't able to hear the consonant sounds after shooting, and sometimes it comes back. It could be a temporary thing, but a lot of times it doesn't come back, or it doesn't come back all the way.
We're talking with Dr. Mike Stewart, an audiologist and an avid hunter. Mike, is there a website? Do you have like a Mike Stewart audiologist outdoors.com or anything like that?
No, Mike, I'm retired, remember?
Good for you. I know you have. Good for you. We'll take a break here on the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, continue our conversation with the retired audiologist, but he's not a retired hunter, Mike Stewart, talking about something that we overlook. I've overlooked it. I take it seriously now, but you know what? The damage is done now. We'll talk to Mike a lot more about this after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. By now, you know all about Angler Quest boats. The center console design, binary wall system, and smooth ride with lots of room have anglers convinced a pontoon can be a great fishing rig. And the folks at Michigan-based Angler Quest continue to make their boats even better. Now the signature rocket launcher Arch can tilt down. That's great for high water levels, trailering, and storage. Also, there's a new panfish model that's perfect for smaller inland lakes. The popular Pro Troll models continue to dominate big water for walleye, salmon, and trout, and the family fish can keep everyone happy whether fishing or cruising. All Angler Quest boats are designed by fishermen and made in Michigan by skilled craftsmen using the latest technology. You can learn more online at anglerquestpontoons.com. That's anglerquestpontoons.com. With more models, upgraded designs, plenty of features, and bigger outboards, this is the perfect year for you to join the Angler Quest family.
You'll do better at Garber. At Garber Chevrolet in Midland, Saginaw, Linwood, and Caro, we're better for a reason. Like Garber's low price guarantee. Get incredible everyday low prices on a new Chevy Equinox, Silverado, Traverse, or Trax. Think you found a better deal somewhere else? Bring it to us, and we will beat it. Getting more options and choices is always better. That's the benefit of having the Great Lakes Bay region's largest inventory of new Chevrolets. When you shop Garber Chevrolet, you won't have to shop around to find exactly what you're looking for. And Garber Chevrolet's award-winning customer service is in a class of its own. Your needs will always come first. Better prices, better selection, and better service. There's a reason why you'll do better at Garber Chevrolet in Midland, Saginaw, Linwood, and Caro. Home of the low price guarantee. Chevy, find new roads and find a better deal online at GarberChevrolet.com. You'll do better at Garber.
Everybody needs to put gas in their tank, so the next time, why not save money with fuel rewards from Forward Shell convenience stores? With fuel rewards, you'll save at least 5 cents a gallon on every fill-up at the 26 Forward Shell convenience stores. Plus, you can earn additional savings with select products and special offers at those Forward stores. You can save 20, 30, even 40 cents a gallon. And the more you use fuel rewards, the more you can save. I use the Fuel Rewards program every time I stop by a Forward Shell convenience store. And you can too. Go to fuelrewards.com. That's fuelrewards.com. You can also download the Fuel Rewards app on your phone. The Fuel Rewards program at your local Forward Shell convenience store. A great way to save money every time you fill up. To learn more, check out forwardconvenience.com. That's forwardconvenience.com. 20 feet in the air is no time to be second-guessing your choice in tree stands. But with the new Primal line of stands, you'll never have to worry about comfort or noise. Primal's new jaw and truss ladder system gives you an extra firm and quiet attachment, even on irregular trees. The Primal Grip Jaw system features a strong set of jaws so you can securely clamp around the tree. The Backbone Stabilizer Truss lets you connect to almost any healthy tree and eliminates annoying squeaks. With single ladder stands from 16 to 22 feet and double stands up to 18 feet, new Primal tree stands have a model for every hunter. To learn more, check out the website primaltreestands.com. That's primaltreestands.com. Stalk your prey the Primal way with Primal Tree Stands. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY, AM and FM, 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. You can hear us in Flint on Super Talk 1570 WWCK and north of the bridge in Iron Mountain, WMIQ 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Great Lakes Charter Training. If you've ever wanted to be a charter captain, I mean, a fishing boat captain. But it's not just charter boats. I mean, it's if you want to be taking people on the water for hire, you have to be licensed. That means sightseeing excursions, dive boats, sailing boats, river cruises, tow boats. You got to be licensed. The process of getting that license isn't easy. I know. I've done it. But I would not have been able to do it without the folks from Great Lakes Charter Training helping me out. glctraining.com is the website, glctraining.com. I actually took my class in Bay City. Captain John Littlefield taught the class under the direction of Captain Mel Stackpool. They have a very, very good system in place. It's like a 9-day, 6-hour-a-day class. There's a lot going on here. They will then give you the Coast Guard test because they are authorized to do that. But here's the cool thing. They guarantee you will pass the Coast Guard test. And if you don't, they'll help you and give it to you again. They will make sure you pass the Coast Guard test. I could not have done it without Great Lakes Charter Training. Check them out online at glctraining.com. That's glctraining.com. Right now, though, we're talking with retired audiologist, but avid hunter, Mike Stewart, about shooting and hearing loss. It's a big problem. It's a real concern. It affects many people, including me. Mike, I got to ask you a question now before we get into the rest of this conversation here. Say I break my finger. My finger will heal. Why, if I do damage to my ears, does that heal too?
Not with a sensory neural hearing loss. Once you damage those hair cells, the hair cells die, and then the nerves going down to interfacing with the hair cells. The hair cells are the sound receptors. Once you damage them, there's no sound receptors, and so then the nerves degenerate, and so then you lose that also. Let me clarify my statement on retirement, Mike. I am retired from teaching, but not from doing firearm noise research.
Good.
We have a project going on right now that we're looking at a 7.62 51 caliber and different types of hearing protection shooting out of a semi-enclosed area. So, and we continue to do that with the group I'm working with, and we continue to publish and we continue to make presentations. But the teaching part of it and the daily grind there, the pressure's off there.
Good for you. But it's obvious, though, you are committed to this concept of shooting and hearing loss. It's something that it's been a passion for you for a long time, and I'm glad to see that you're still involved in that, Mike.
Yeah, well, I am, because it's personal. You know, when it happens to you, you're more motivated. I've worked with a lot of students over the years, and when they have a project where they have a personal interest, they're much more passionate about it. And that's how I am about this, because I'm trying to keep kids, especially, from getting, the noise-induced hearing loss or ringing, the problems in noisy environments that we have. And then we're trying to help adults hear better through amplification.
Wouldn't it be nice, and I've seen this happen in the tree stand safety industry, where it is now acceptable to a young hunter, when they gear up to go in the woods, they put on their safety harness and they don't even think about it. It's just part of their gear. It's like their bow. Wouldn't it be nice if with these young hunters coming up, we could get them to wear hearing protection just as part of their gear? They didn't give it a second thought. It's just what they do.
Right. That's where education comes in, Mike. And wouldn't it also be nice if they could have a suppressor on the end of their gun to provide them with additional hearing protection? Because I don't care whether you reduce the sound at the ear or reduce the sound at the muzzle, it's hearing protection, and that's what a suppressor does. But that's a real sticky issue right now, as you know. I mean, we look at it in terms of hearing conservation, but a lot of people look at it in terms of gun control. And that's unfortunate because most criminals or whatever are committing crimes. They're not going to be using suppressors. They're best used by hunters.
I would be far more inclined to want to use a suppressor, or what's commonly called a silencer, but it doesn't silence it, so a suppressor, than I would over-the-ear hearing muffs, because to be honest with you, Mike, those things are a pain.
Well, they are, Mike, but I still think, and our research has shown it over and over again, especially with the big bore guns and the pistols, that suppressors are not completely adequate alone. They should be used in combination with hearing protection, but you don't need hearing protection with a 30 dB attenuation. You could use a very light hearing protection or nonlinear hearing protection along with a suppressor, and that would be the most ideal situation, is to use a different type of hearing protection, one that doesn't provide you with so much attenuation in conjunction with a suppressor. And I think that's the ideal situation, because then you can still hear, but you have protection. Yeah,
because when you're sitting there in the woods, you want to hear the birds come in. You want to hear the buck walk by. When you completely isolate yourself, it's a little bit unnerving for one thing, and it makes you less effective in the field.
Well, it's dangerous too, because then you've lost your ability to monitor your environment auditorily, so you're doing it visually, and any quick movement or something like that, it could be a hunter, one of your friends approaching you, and so you need that auditory input when you're hunting to hear the game. And our research has shown time and time again that is the main reason that people don't wear hearing protection while they're hunting, is because they want to be able to hear the game.
Sure.
Coming. And so, but there are different types of hearing protection that will allow them to hear the game, and even better, the electronic stuff is incredible.
Well, and by that, I mean, there used to be a thing on the market, I don't know if they're still out there, called the Walker's Game Ear. Is that the type of thing you're talking about?
Yeah, but that's an over-the-ear, one-size-fits-all usually. If I were going to use a Walker's Game Ear, I would use one with a custom ear mold. But I'm a big fan of the custom in-the-ear stuff because it allows you to localize sound well. When you have a microphone over your ear, like a over-the-ear hearing aid, your ability to localize sound is not as good as if the microphone is inside the conch or inside the ear canal, because that's what that pin is for, is to help localize. Well, when you put a microphone above the ear, your localization ability diminishes. And so the most ideal type of hearing protection for me would be the in-the-ear electronic stuff.
That sounds expensive.
Well, not as expensive as hearing aids, that's for sure. And mine, because I only use mine during deer season, I was looking at my electronic in-the-ear hearing protection the other day, and it's got a 2001 date on it. So, I mean, they last a long, long time because you don't use them every day.
Yeah. And, if you go to a range or an indoor range, most people are wearing hearing protection these days. It is the hunting situation where we really fall short, isn't it?
Right. That's it. Most people will wear hearing protection. Our research has shown time and time again that 80% of the people do not wear hearing protection while they're hunting. While, and believe it or not everybody wears hearing protection while target practicing either. But most people do. But while hunting, that's when the breakdown occurs. And it's across all age groups and all genders, too. It's just they're not wearing hearing protection while they're hunting because they need to be able to hear.
Well, it's one thing to have guys our age who we kind of did it to ourselves over time, and that is a shame. But I think about maybe a young kid, if he was out in the blind with his grandpa, and his grandpa touched off an old 30-06 or something and screwed up that kid's hearing for life. What a shame that is.
Yeah, we see that. We see that quite often, especially in blind situations where there's two people sitting side by side, because actually the person sitting to the side actually gets more sound pressure level than the person shooting. It's more directly in line with the muzzle. And so, yeah, I've had situations where people said that they were sitting next to someone and they shot in the blind and it knocked them on the floor. It was so loud. And so, yeah, it's a very dangerous situation.
Do you take this so far as to decide the choice of your hunting rifles based on the sound level they put out?
Yeah, my first gun, my dad got it for me when I was 14. It was a 30-06 semi-automatic carbine. So that means it's short-barreled. Well, that's what gave me my hearing loss. And so over the years, I've smartened up a little bit, and so now I was using a 7mm 08 bolt, which is less sound pressure, and it's not semi-automatic, so you can't fire as fast. And then this year I'm going to a 308 bolt action. And the 308 just happens to be suppressor ready. So I'll probably go through the process of getting a suppressor, which takes about a year.
Isn't it a shame that we have to jump through so many hoops to get something to protect our hearing?
Yeah. Well, that's the political nature of the situation right now. And I don't see it getting better in the foreseeable future. I see this being situation where it's going to be around for a long time, where these are not readily available. Say, like in Europe, you can go into a hardware store and buy a suppressor for $5. You know, well, maybe I'm underestimating the price a little bit, but you can actually go into a hardware store and buy a suppressor. But here, it's about a year-long process.
Now, the bolt action, is the bolt action inherently quieter, or is just the fact that you can't fire off as many rounds as quickly?
Well, it's both. With a semi-automatic, Mike, you can fire, several shots very, very, very fast. But you also get some sound coming out of the receiver when the shell's ejected. And so you get, and we saw that, first time we saw that is when we were using high-speed video, and we saw the smoke coming out of the end of the barrel, and we also saw smoke coming out of the receiver. So we put a mic there, and sure enough, there's sound pressure levy coming out of the receiver when the bolt is ejected. So, yeah, both. But mainly, I think it's it's just the fact that you can't fire as fast as you can with a bolt action.
Mike, this whole topic is fascinating. It affects so many people, and it's so easily preventable once people take a minute to think about it. And you've done a wonderful job in bringing this to hunters' attentions, and I thank you for all the hard work you've done over the years.
Well, thank you, Mike, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about this, because it is important that people know. And a lot of people who are involved in hunting and stuff, they kind of shy away from this.
Absolutely. All right, Mike. Listen, I gotta let you go. Have a great season, Dr. Mike Stewart, audiologist and avid hunter, and an all-around good guy. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Tawas on WIOS, AM and FM, 1480 AM, 106.9 FM. You can hear us in St. Joe on WSJM, 94.9 FM. And you can hear us. Can we go north of the bridge one more time? Yes, we can. We can go to Ishpeming, WIAN, 1240 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Speedy Blaze. We were talking about Speedy Blaze with Ed Bolanowski in the first hour. Speedy Blaze, a safe, clean, water-resistant, insect-resistant alternative to firewood. You can carry it around the state. You're not going to spread disease. And as Ed said earlier, those little what do they call them? Speedy Sparks. They're actually fire starters. A great thing to put in your backpack or your hunting coat pocket in case you need to fire. You know, we all carry lighters or matches with us, but then what are you going to use to burn? Well, good advice from Ed. I really like these guys. They're a Michigan-based company, and you know I like that. The website, speedyblaze.com, speedyblaze.com. While you are online, I would encourage you to check out my website, mikeaveryoutdoors.com, and also this website, here for mioutdoors.org. Here for mioutdoors.org, the website of the Michigan Wildlife Council. This is a group that I have been working with, since they started. Because when I heard about what they were up to, I said, I need to partner with these people. They're trying to promote, encourage, and protect hunting and fishing and trapping here in Michigan. Jason Garvin is the newest member of the Michigan Wildlife Council, or one of the new members, and he joins us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Jason, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well, Mike. Thank you.
Oh, listen, it's my pleasure to have you along. Tell me a little bit about your background. How did you get involved with the Michigan Wildlife Council?
So I was part of the Eastern Upper Peninsula Citizen Advisory Council for the DNR when the Michigan Wildlife Council first started. Representative Jim Hamill then came to the Citizen Advisory Council to talk about what the Wildlife Council was doing and their plans. I was pretty interested at that point. And when Jim's term expired, I thought I would go ahead and apply.
When you hear about what the group is involved in, it's hard not to be excited about it. It's hard not to support their efforts.
That's right. Just thinking about the fact that hunters, fishermen, fisher people, I guess we should say, pay for the resources. We need to support that. This is our model of funding for wildlife in the country, the user pay system. So the more we can support that, the more we can all benefit from what's out there in the natural resources.
There in the UP where you are, of course, hunting and fishing in the outdoors is, I think, more widely accepted than some parts of the southern part of the state. But does the message still have to get out there in the UP as well? Is this a statewide campaign, or is it really directed specifically at some certain areas downstate?
And I think the focal areas are downstate, but I think we can't overlook the UP as well. I mean, there's still certainly work to be done to be done here. While the UP is kind of characterized as this hunting, fishing mecca, I mean, it certainly doesn't apply to all residents, and so we've got a bit to do. And in fact, the education of hunters themselves about the fact that their hunting dollars are what are paying for wildlife in the state is important, I think, to get across to everyone.
Isn't that interesting that, yes, a lot of hunters don't even realize the role we play in this whole big picture?
Yeah, I mean, so my background is wildlife science. As a formal education, and so you learn that along the way about the funding models, but you don't realize that most people don't get that information.
Yeah. And let me ask you, too, in a time of COVID, and I don't want to get off track, but it seems like funding levels for a lot of different projects have been affected negatively by COVID. How are you guys doing? Is your future solid, or what does it look like?
My future as what part?
As Michigan Wildlife Council, yeah. Are you guys locked in? Are you good to go for a while?
From my understanding, we're okay for now.
Mm-hmm.
Our last meeting, I think we talked about our budget, is still on for this year.
That's about all you can ask for right now, isn't it, Jason?
Yeah, it is. It is. We'll take a stalemate. That's okay if we just stay where we were. That's perfectly fine.
Absolutely. Well, listen, you and I have not worked together yet, but I hope we get a chance to in the future. I'm a big fan of what you guys are doing, as I said earlier on. In today's world, when so much of our state population is getting away from the natural world, away from hunting and fishing, groups like you guys at the Michigan Wildlife Council, I think, are playing a critical role in helping to ensure that our lifestyle continues, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
Jason Garvin, a new member of the Michigan Wildlife Council. Michigan Wildlife Council, you can find him online at hereformioutdoors.org, hereformioutdoors.org. As I say, as soon as I found out that this plan was in the works, and that's, I don't know how many years it's been now, actually probably more than I realize, I thought this is a campaign that I want to be involved in. Because if you look around, we are outnumbered. Not by the antis, but the non-hunters, the non-participants. There are more people in our state now that don't hunt by far than who do. And it's that vast group in the middle, not the antis, because we'll never sway them, but the non-hunters, the non-participants, the non-anglers, the non-trappers. We need to educate them and get them on our side to show them how important of a role we play in wildlife conservation. And that way, when it comes time to vote, they'll be voting for us and they'll be more educated. And the Michigan Wildlife Council is doing a good job of that. Here for mioutdoors.org. We'll take a break, wrap up the second hour with this week's Ask Avery segment right here on Outdoor Magazine. We spend a lot of time thinking about our next outdoor adventure, where we're heading, and what we're going to do. But I bet most of us don't spend much time thinking about our financial institution. At Security Credit Union, they love to work with sportsmen and women, hunters, anglers, shooters, trappers. Security Credit Union has a program for you. With 11 branches in 10 counties, plus online banking from anywhere, Security Credit Union could be your perfect financial partner. They offer financing for RVs, ATVs, cabins, hunting property, and just about anything else you need for your next outdoor adventure. And to make it even better, you can apply online. Check them out at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org to learn how Security Credit Union can work for you. Again, check out securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. Federally insured by the NCUA. Have you tried the Mike Avery Hunter Sticks from Michigan Brand Meats? They feature two of my favorites, elk and pepper, and I think they taste great. I've been working with the Grillo family of Michigan Brand for a few years now, and I couldn't be happier. Michigan Brand is family-owned and based right here in Michigan, and they make lots of great products. From jerky, sausage, and those hunter sticks to their famous Michigan Brand hams, you can't go wrong with Michigan Brand meats. Plus, Michigan Brand can process your boned-out wild game, too. Check out the website, michiganbrand.net, for more info. That's michiganbrand.net. You can buy the Mike Avery Hunter Sticks on that website. Plus, you can get them at Jay's Sporting Goods, all Forward convenience stores, Jack's Fruit Markets, and many other great stores, too. There's a complete list on the website. Again, that's michiganbrand.net for the Mike Avery Hunter Sticks, the outstanding Michigan Brand hams, and lots more. michiganbrand.net.
It's a complicated world we live in. Right about now, I'll bet your head is spinning like a tornado with news and opinions and conflicting do this and don't do that recommendations. Some days, you just want to throw up your hands, go to the woods, and stay there. And you know, that's not a bad idea. Jay's Sporting Goods encourages you to get back to your roots. Do some simple, traditional things for a while. In Michigan's great outdoors, space is one thing we have plenty of. So put as much social distance as you like between you and everyone else, including all your social media pals who somehow just recently became experts on every topic. And one more thing. Before you head out, head into Jay's Sporting Goods. Because even though there are shortages of a lot of things these days, Jay's has just what you need to make the most of your escape to our beautiful wide open spaces. It's the gateway to social distancing the way God intended. Jay's Sporting Goods, Clare and Gaylord.
Hey, you like to hunt for different game in changing conditions, but it can be expensive to buy hunting clothes in every pattern. Well, now there's a way to change your camo without breaking the bank. With VersaSkins, you can buy one set of hunting clothes and change the pattern to suit your surroundings. You can switch from whitetail to waterfowl, blaze orange, and snow camo by just snapping on a new skin. Plus, VersaSkins keep you warm, dry, and protect you from the elements. To learn more, check out the website versaskins.com. VersaSkins, just change the skin for the season you're in.
When you buy a Michigan hunting or fishing license, you're helping to fund conservation efforts across the state. The majority of funding for taking care of Michigan's fish and wildlife comes from you, hunters and anglers, not state taxes. So on behalf of the Michigan Wildlife Council, we'd like to thank you for your part in ensuring that Michigan's hunting and fishing heritage will be here for generations. Learn how the Michigan Wildlife Council promotes the role of hunting and fishing at hereformioutdoors.org.
You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sandusky on WMIC. That's 660 AM. You can hear us in Muskegon on WKBZ 1090 AM. And you can hear us in Houghton Lake on the Twister 92.1 WTWS. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week here on the Outdoor Magazine show by Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. Security Credit Union growing, and that's good to see. securitycu.org. The way this segment works is you pose a question to me every week. You can send me an email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. You can hit me up on one of the social media sites, and if I know the answer, I will answer it myself. If not, I will pass it along to somebody else. This week, Craig Plowman emailed me, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com, with what I think is a very good series of questions. He says, if you shoot a deer and tracking goes past the end of legal hunting hours, can you, number one, what weapons can you legally carry? Well, I am not qualified to answer that. But Lieutenant Jason Wickland of the DNR is, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Lieutenant, you've become my go-to guy for law enforcement questions, and I appreciate your accessibility.
Well, I appreciate you giving me a call. I'm always happy to help out the public with anything they have, because at the end of the day, it's all about everybody doing what's right and going home at the end of the day safe. So I'm glad I can help you out.
All right, so answer the first part of the question. If you shoot a deer and tracking goes past the legal hunting hours, what weapon can you legally carry?
You can carry any weapon that's legal for that animal. So if you're going out and you're archery hunting a deer and you kill a deer, you can't go out and track it with a rifle or a handgun. That would be illegal. So if you're using archery equipment and you wound that deer, you go back after the legal hunting hours, you're allowed to use that archery equipment that you initially used for the animal. Same thing with the during firearm deer season. The weapon that you're lawfully carried that you initially shot the animal with, you're allowed to carry that as well.
Second part, if you jump the deer, can you legally dispatch it, or do you have to wait until the legal shooting hours the next day? I think that's a great question.
Yes, and we get that question quite a bit, and the law affords you the opportunity to kill a down or mortally wounded deer, bear or elk, using the legal method that you initially had taken that animal or attempted to take that animal with. So the only caveat would that be was you can only have that firearm, crossbow, or bow loaded, nocked at the time of point of kill. So you can carry the weapon with you, has to be unloaded or can't be around in the chamber. The crossbow can't be knocked or cocked, and the bow can't be knocked with an arrow until you come upon that deer that's mortally wounded. And then at that time, you can load, cock, or knock the weapon and finish off that animal.
It's going to be after dark. Can we use a flashlight to do it?
Yes, you can use artificial lights, and I know with the dog tracking, that's another thing that's really starting to rise. Is the people out there? Usually, the dog trackers are required to report to us that they're out tracking a deer. We don't necessarily require the public to do it, but it's always a good method to call the RAP hotline. Just say, hey, I shot a deer. It's mortally wounded. I'm going to be tracking it, because people see lights out in the woods and right away they think there's some type of poaching activity. But you can use a weapon or a light on your person. It's a headlamp, or carry some type of flashlight or lantern, whatever people want to use to track that deer after the legal hours. It's not considered shining. You're trying to locate a mortally wounded deer. And, just people need to keep in mind that if you are out there and you're doing that, you're going to raise suspicion. So you're probably going to have somebody pay you a visit and see what you're up to. But it's perfectly legal to do.
Going on with Craig's list, are the rules the same during archery and firearm seasons?
Yes, and like I said, with the archery, you have to use the archery equipment. You can't go home and get a gun and then try to increase your odds and distance of taking the animal. So you're required to use that weapon.
What about that quiet time from November, that last week before the season? Anything changed then?
No, quiet time's just that. I mean, that's for you still have small game hunting, you still have trapping that allows weapons for certain circumstances. So no, there's no changes for that.
And this is one thing Craig didn't ask, but I'll follow up on it. For CPL concealed pistol license during bow season, can I carry my handgun with me?
Yes, you can do that, and that's another great question that we get a lot. And if you're licensed to carry a CPL trumps most game laws, and you can carry that weapon with you. And most people are doing that under the guise of protection, but you cannot use an animal to take game unless you're legally licensed to do so, and it's the right method. So yeah, if you're up in your bow stand and you want to carry your handgun with you for CPL reasons, and you want to have it concealed, that's fine, but you can't take that and start shooting at deer or put down a mortally wounded deer.
You can stop by an officer. You got to tell them you got it, though.
Exactly. Got to immediately disclose that you have that and have the required permit with you as well.
All right. Lieutenant Jason Wickland, listen, like I said, I appreciate your availability. I'll get out of your hair, but thanks for the good info.
I appreciate it. Call anytime.
All right. Lieutenant Jason Wickland, Michigan DNR, michigan.gov/DNR is the website there. And again, thank you to Craig Plowman for emailing me at mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com with what I think is a very good series of questions for the Ask Avery segment. And, of course, I have to thank my friends at Security Credit Union for making this segment possible, securitycu.org, securitycu.org. Do not hesitate to shoot me a question, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Hit me up on any of the social media sites, and we'll see if we can't answer your questions. If I can answer it personally, I will. If not, I know how to get to the experts, and I don't hesitate to do that. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, Don Barnard checking in from North Dakota. He's actually pheasant hunting, but the topic at hand is trophy fall muskie fishing here in the great state of Michigan. And, of course, wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Miner as well.